I think a lot of brand owners actually don't think packaging is important, but it is. When you're on a budget, you can do simple things with wrap bands, stickers, even if you've just got a brown box for something quite simple. Create a nice sticker, and that, you don't have to spend a lot of money. So you must have a tone of voice, a personality that you create for a brand. Otherwise, you're going to be like your competitor. I think a lot of brand owners think, I like that. I'm like that. I'm going to use that. And then they put it all together and it's like, oh, it doesn't look quite right. Does that fit with your tone of voice? Does that fit with your brand personality? If you're not consistent and you don't really sort of have the brand message, your customer's going to get confused and they think, oh, I'm going to move on to the next brand because I don't understand what you're all about. You've got to communicate the message and the brand tone of voice. Whatever your brand is, it has to fit with whatever your brand is all about. Packaging does help when the customer receives it, and it's the whole brand experience and the unboxing side of things. On a listing, you don't necessarily have to show that. I think it's more important about the function, somebody actually using the product.
Hi everyone, welcome on Expert Monday. Every Monday we interview an Amazon expert who shares some tips, some nuggets, and today we are with Kitty, who is in the packaging industry, packaging, design, etc., who has a lot to share about it. How are you, Kitty?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on your show, and I'm really excited to talk more about packaging and design.
Yeah, I met you in Prague and you were doing a talk about that. And I'm sure there is a lot of value to share around that. So how did you start with this industry, with packaging?
Well, actually, I studied at university for graphic design, and I love packaging anyway, because when I was 15, my first job was working in a packaging factory for Estee Lauder, Clinique, Aramis, and I was doing a lot of the packaging working on the factory line, putting all the makeups in, putting all the boxes and doing a lot of things for Christmas as well. And, I loved it. It was summer jobs and part-time job when I was young. And then I just love packaging and design anyway. So I naturally went into doing art, and then university did that. And I just gravitated to making 3D things with my hands. And I made a lot of packaging, for my projects. And then when I graduated, I worked in London, because that's where the design industry was. And I worked for an agency. We did a lot of corporate design and stuff, and it was quite boring for a year. So I was like, I need something a bit more. So then a job came for a brand called Ted Baker. So it was a fashion brand. And I thought, I'd heard about that. And it was really exciting because they do a lot of things with marketing campaigns, window campaigns, and again, packaging and branding. And I just wanted to work with something more exciting. And I was there for over about 10 years. So I worked my way up to head up a design team of 8 designers, actually. We opened stores globally. So we worked on all the packaging, the bags, the boxes, the beauty range, the perfume range, and a lot of things, we did there, and also in store. So a lot of point of sale, how it's seen on the shop floor, all the window campaigns, so swing tickets and everything to do with a brand, we got involved with. And then as brand guardians, I set up like, a brand Bible for Ted Baker as well. So fonts and colors and things you could do, along with, my director as well. So we created a sort of a brand Bible for the brand.
Okay.
And after that, I was made redundant, and it's like, oh no, what do I do? But I've been there for 10 years, and I wanted to work with another brand. So I worked with TK Maxx, then another retail brand. And then finally I was headhunted for Cath Kidston, which again, is a high street store with, packaging for homewares and clothing and kids, stuff. And I loved it because I actually got from day one, I rebranded, the logo actually, because it was not consistent. And that's where a lot of brands get it wrong, is not being consistent for it. But ever since I've been in this industry for over 20 years, so now I have my own company, Me Brand, and I specialize in the packaging side and the branding side of things. So that's where I am. But it's always been with me, so I've been doing it a long time.
Okay, a lot of things to share then. So you were talking about rebranding some brand, starting with the logo. Did you see some mistake that seller make, and what is your process to rebrand basically?
Yeah, so obviously this was a brand that had kids as well. So that, Cath Kidston, on her branding was Kafkistan Limited, and then London, and then other things were just Kafkistan London, and then it was just Kafkistan. And so it's like 3 different logos, and then they had the kids as well, and that had the same thing. And I thought, there's a lot of things going on. We could just shrink it down to just 2 logos. Let's have Kaf Kids and just Kafkistan London. That's it. No more other limited or other things that you wanted to add on. So we literally sort of scaled back, what it was. And, Kaf herself, I work very closely with the owner of the brand, and she was like, you're right. We need to sort of simplify it and make it look more professional. Now this logo, Kaf actually designed on her kitchen table. So she had like drawn up her own logo, the logo you would see in the high streets and on bags at the moment. She drew it by hand. And it was quite funny because I was at a show that year, and someone was talking about the logo, about Kafkistan. It's like, oh, I went to this show and someone was on stage talking about Kafkistan, saying the logo was really bad. It's like hand drawn, and I was like, we've just literally redone it. So I redrew it graphically because Kaf did it by hand, back then. But it's, someone to pick that up as well. But, it's really sort of making a brand consistent across everything, from packaging through to the stores, through to the communication you have, the marketing, online as well. So yeah, it's really important.
And it's communicate a message, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to communicate the message and the brand tone of voice. So, whatever your brand is, it has to fit with whatever your brand is all about. So you must have a tone of voice, a personality that you create for a brand. Otherwise you're going to be like the other brand, your competitor. How can you differentiate yourself from your competitor?
Yeah, exactly. And when you sell on Amazon, like let's say I'm launching a yoga mat brand, for example, what can I do to find some inspiration to have a different brand and differentiate from the competitors?
Yes, inspiration. I would always still say, look at what your competitors are doing. Maybe read. Actually, there's another things you can do. Actually, so you could read your reviews. If you've got a particular brand and you're getting a lot of customer reviews, they sometimes suggest things. Oh, I wish I had this color, or I wish that it could have this function, or the packaging's not, so you can get some ideas from that already. And from your competitors, they might have people complaining or asking for different things. So you could get ideas from that. But when it comes to visual and the design of the packaging, I go to particular websites and I get a lot of inspiration from Pinterest. So that's what my go-to for packaging specifically, and design actually. So if you're looking for logos or sort of branding ideas and other things, you can go to Pinterest because there's so much you can find on there. And there are other sites called Design Inspiration. And again, they have different types of inspiration for design. And, as a brand owner, you probably won't know what you're looking for. So it's good to sort of consult with a design specialist or a designer as well, because they can guide you much better. Because I think a lot of brand owners think, I like that. I'm like that. I'm going to use that. And then they put it all together and it's like, oh, it doesn't look quite right. We can go down a rabbit hole and you think, oh, I love that. Oh no, I can do that. But then does that fit with your tone of voice? Does that fit with your brand personality? And, what experience are you giving to your customers? Because if you're not consistent and you don't really sort of have the brand message, your customer's going to get confused and they think, oh, I'm going to move on to the next brand because I don't understand what you're all about.
Okay, so first of all, you define your tone of voice, and then from that, you build your design and your packaging.
Yeah.
How do you differentiate from your competitor on Amazon? Like, do you recommend to show the packaging on the listing directly, or what are your strategy about that?
With Amazon, it's a particular, obviously you don't necessarily have to show the packaging. If you're in a supermarket or a store, you walk in, you see the packaging, that's it. But when you're in Amazon, it's more about the function of the product and people seeing how it's used. It's not so much the packaging. It does help. Packaging does help when the customer receives it, and it's the whole brand experience and the unboxing side of things. But on a listing, you don't necessarily have to show that. I think it's more important about the function, somebody actually using the product, because I think a lot of listings lack the human side of things. They have the product, they show the front, back side, and they tell you all the features, all the benefits, but then they don't show anyone using it. And it's like, videos help, that really does help. So how do you use it? And, what the enjoyment of somebody using it. If you see someone in an image, so if you have a kid's product like a toy and you don't have a child using it and it's just you want to create that lifestyle and that sort of that you want to bring them in. You want to bring them into your brand experience as well. If you don't have a packaging, to show them, because I don't think it's that necessary.
And from there, the packaging is the experience, like they will receive the product. And you talked about it in your talk. You said that the packaging can be Instagrammable also. So do you have some example of that, of this kind of packaging?
Yeah. So I think a lot of brand owners actually don't think packaging is important, but it is. I mean, when I talk about packaging, there's two sides of the packaging as well. So there's the actual product itself, the packaging, the design of the product. So that's still kind of packaging. And then the outer packaging, the thing that it comes in, and then there is the shipping packaging. So there is three types actually. But, if you can create a product that's beautiful and, you can take photos of it and make sort of like set up a whole scene behind the actual product. And, obviously you have a brand essence of it, but at the end of the day, when you're putting something on Instagram, you want to create that emotion. You want to capture the customer's, thoughts and their sort of, they want to aspire to it as well. It's like, oh, why do I want to buy this? Oh, and a lot of people are captured by visual. It's the visual sense of the brand that you get across to the customer. And I think when I say make it Instagrammable, it's considering the design, considering where the logo goes, where the product title goes, where, everything on the actual label, on the product, it needs to be considered, not just, I'm going to put a product title in the middle and just put everything. It has to be considered, because that's what design is. You know where you should put it. You should align things up, and things should not look out of place. And often things can do if you do it yourself. And there is a hierarchy to design.
Mm-hmm. And let's say I have a low budget. I'm launching my yoga mat. I want to do a good packaging, but I don't have a budget to hire someone for that. Do you have some tips? What will you do to do that?
So, yeah, I mean, everyone starts on a budget, and it's always the case. And I work with lots of lots of owners. They come with me with no budget, and then they see the budget. Oh, gosh. But you have to allow for a budget. You have to, because the design side is really important. I mean, these big brands, they create these successful brands because they invest, and it's about investing into the design, because they've got these experts telling you how can it be seen, how are these emotions and the personality. And I think if you don't have a budget, you can still start simple as well. So if you've got a product, and not everyone has a nice, really great product, and if you've just got a toilet brush, maybe it doesn't need packaging so much, but you can still package a toilet brush up with like a wrap band that goes around the brush or something. You can still bring out some personality, the way you talk on the packaging, whether there's a message or some clever story, or, there might be something about the toilet brush, that is really, exciting. You can make that product exciting. And when you're on a budget, you can do simple things with wrap bands, stickers. Even if you've just got a brown box for something quite simple, create a nice sticker, and that, you don't have to spend a lot of money. It's not printing on the box, which would cost a bit more, but there are ways. So I would suggest go on Pinterest, have a look at what things you could do on a budget, like simple packaging. So just type in on the search bar, simple packaging for brown box. And then it will come up some ideas, and then it will suggest some other ideas. And then you'll start clicking through, oh, actually, I can do that on a budget. Stickers don't cost a lot. Brown boxes don't cost a lot, And so, and my advice is, not everything needs packaging. Not everything needs a box. Okay. So if it's something really sort of simple, I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that got, I don't know, like a garden tool or something. You might just want to put it in a nice bag and stuff, and that's it. But there's some things that don't need elaborate packaging. If it is what it is, the customer's not going to think twice about, oh, this is really nice design for this particular product. So yeah, it really depends on your product.
Do you think of any packaging that you've worked on that changed literally the experience that the clients have from before?
Oh gosh. I guess I work on so many different types of projects, and some of them are still work in progress. But I I think one of them is a particular, well, it's a spice brand. And they wanted it as a gift set, actually. Spices can be like quite normal, but when you make it into a gift set and make it designed in a particular way and how you communicate with the customer as well. So I created some cheeky lines on the actual spices, some really cheeky lines to all these different spices as well. So I created a voice for actually the brand as well. And that can make a real difference than just the boring, I don't know, oregano or basil or something, or some herbs, but yeah, you can create something really, really great. And, I work with different types of brand. So another one is a kitchen product, and they wanted their boring brown box to be a bit more, they want the box to be kept. They want it to be a keepsake. So I created a beautiful box for them, and actually it's really nice. It just has a foil block logo on it. It's quite simple. It wasn't too expensive, and it just had a slip band over it. So the customer could take that off and then just keep the box.
Okay.
And, there's things you can do. And the client is really happy about that because, that's exactly what they wanted. And they didn't want to throw anything away. So they were all about sustainable and keeping things as well. So we've created a really nice box as well for the customer. And I wouldn't throw it away either if I had it. So.
Do you use any AI now? Now with the rise of AI, you can generate images and things like that. Do you use any of those to find ideas or in your workflow?
I do use AI to an extent, but only to create images on a bottle or something, but not for design. I don't design with AI. I use AI in different ways as well. But in terms of using it for inspiration, I don't think it comes up with the things that I want because I've got so much in my head. And as a creative, I tend to want to see things more. I can prompt, but it never gives you what you want. So I get quite frustrated with AI. So I go to the Pinterest or the Instagram or the other websites, design inspiration. So, I can't, I can't work with AI very well in that respect in generating inspiration.
And I guess most of the value that you have is that you've worked with a lot of brands, you've seen a lot of things. So even if you are using Pinterest, you can refer to what you have done previously. Yeah. And that helps with creativity. And that's something you can get with simple prompts, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, every client is different. Every brand is different. And, I have a lot of pin boards, mood boards on Pinterest, like to start my, my research and everything. And it just, from one idea goes to another. And I recently worked with a jewelry brand, nothing to do with Amazon. They sell online, but the jewelry brand, and they wanted something quite quirky and different. And I do get a lot of my ideas from Pinterest. And then from that, I come up with more ideas, different ones. It's just that sort of starting point. And it's not like I don't copy ideas. So I come up with my own. It's like, oh, that's quite nice, but I can make this, turn this into something else. And, it goes into a flow of other sort of creative ideas.
And you said something very interesting in your talk. You said you can borrow from nature. Do you have some example of that, of packaging or design that were inspired by nature?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You said you can borrow from nature, like you can inspire yourself with nature.
Yes, nature. Yes,
sorry, my French accent.
yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, borrow from nature. So it was basically if some owners or brand owners got a bit stuck on what they wanted to do for their design and stuff. But I think generally, if you have quite a nice brand and different, well, I guess it really depends. When you just start designing, you can, when I say borrow from nature, it's like patterns and colors and being inspired with certain things. Like I used an example as ripples. So you like the ripples of a lake, you throw a stone in the ripples, but that can create a really nice pattern on a box. It could be an embossing on a box, and that could feel really nice and look really simple. Or you can use leaves or floral things, depending on your brand, obviously. But there's a certain elements you can use. It's not being literal as well. Some brands are quite literal, but colors definitely. Nature is also like birds, feathers and things. I tend to look at other things as well. So sometimes when I look at color palettes, I look at birds. Because birds and animals, for some reason, because they actually, if you think of some tropical birds, they have the blues and the yellows and the greens, and it actually flows and it looks so beautiful. So you can create a whole color from just looking at one bird. And, so if you're looking at certain ideas, patterns, colors are, it's all around us, to be honest. So, you can use that as a starting point for your designs as well.
That's okay, amazing. So let's say I'm a seller. I need some help with packaging. How can I reach you? Because I can say that the real value is your experience, the way that you've seen a lot of brands and things like that. Mm-hmm. How can I reach you?
So you can reach me on my website. So that's mebranddesign.com. And you could email me on there from there as well. But I'm also on social media. So if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm just mebranddesign at mebranddesigns. So yeah, you can find me that on there.
Okay, great. We'll put the link into the description if you guys need some help with design. I think it can be very helpful with on Amazon, because as I said before, we run a PPC tool for Amazon sellers, and sometimes we have bad results, but it is not really due to the PPC. It can be due to the design, to the packaging, etc. It can be improved. So thanks for sharing your experience, Kitty.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Great. Thank you for having me on the show. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome.